Market Traders Institute. I wake up about 3 or 4 in the morning, and I want to know what's going on in Europe. I want to know what happened in Asia overnight. And who do I call? I call the guys that are doing the analytics down at Market Traders Institute. All right? So we have with us today Shawn Beecher, who's the Senior Market Analyst and Director of Continuing Education at Market Traders Institute with us. Shawn, welcome to the George Jarkesy Show.
Thank you, George. How are you?
Oh, you know, fantastic.
Great.
Although we've got some interesting news coming up. You know, I wanted to talk to you today. You've got the IMF looking and being approached from the Euro and the Europeans about borrowing money from the IMF. Here they come all the way to America. They want to borrow money from the IMF on Friday. Tell me your take on that situation.
You know, as always, you cut right to the quick. What you've got here, and it's amazing how little the media is actually talking about it, but on the 20th, on Friday, the EU is sending over some key folks to talk to the IMF, and in essence what they're going to do is they're bringing their cup, and they're rattling their change, and they're looking for a handout. In essence, what they've done is they've come into town and they've decided that, and all your listeners out there, listen to the story I'm about to tell you. They're coming asking for some aid, and these are their problems. We've got a 10.4% unemployment rate. Now, at one point in time, those numbers should sound pretty familiar to your listeners. We've injected over €1 trillion of stimulus. Again, very similar to our quantitative easing. Our manufacturing is slowing down. We went through all of these things, but for some reason, the ECB thinks that they're going to rattle their cup into the IMF, and the IMF is going to roll over and give them something to the tune of about $580 billion. And, you know, George, you know this. It's not this money has to come from somewhere, and the vast majority of that money, the largest contributor to the IMF, is, guess what? Us here in the U.S.
Yeah, no, I know. And, you know, interestingly enough, through all the crisis that we've gone through, the United States has never gone to the IMF, even though we're the biggest funder of it.
Yeah, absolutely right. You know, and what's really amazing is, you know, IMF goes out about 3 weeks ago, and they say basically the IMF has a certain amount of stockpile. They've got about $380 billion, and they have it just sitting there in case a truly needy country comes to them. Well, what they're doing is they're recognizing the questions and the issues that are in Europe, and they've basically told all member nations, we want to raise our $380 billion to $800 billion. Now, amazingly enough, the same country that's coming to the IMF saying, hey, we need some help, is part of the $286 billion that the IMF has raised over the last 3 months. Amazingly, they're $286 billion of the $500 billion that they want to borrow. It's just so confusing to me.
What is the takeaway? Our listeners are there. They're listening to this. What is the takeaway? They go there to the IMF. Hopefully the IMF turns them down. What is the takeaway for the markets? And what are you advising, you know, the people that use you for analytics and that work with you for analytics? How is that working internally for you?
Great question. So first off, you know, the IMF has sent out some very clear messages that they're not going to be real proud to want to give them any money. IMF literally today just raised its global economic forecast from 3.3% to 3.5%, just basically saying that, hey, look, things aren't as bad as what people may believe globally. Now, again, that's up for debate, but the IMF is really clearly showing, hey, look, you know, more needs to be done. You know, they also came out today and said that something to the tune of about $3.8 trillion worth of assets, actually trillion euro worth of assets, can be cut out of the banking sector in Europe. So they're showing very clear signals that the IMF is not going to be loaning any money out this go around. What that means is that's going to send shockwaves through the entire Eurozone because, you know, I mean, a big part of the reason that they hit that €1 trillion psychological number was try and get the IMF to loan money. When that does not take place, you're going to watch, again, and I've talked about it week after week, but you're going to watch two currency pairs once again provide huge trading opportunity, and that is the euro-dollar and the euro-yen currency pair. We're basically advising our clients, hey, look, these are the trades that we watch. You know, we give it to you from a perspective of a full-time market analyst, and we identify for our clients, this is where we're getting in, this is where we're getting out, and then most importantly, George, we share with them the why. And that's
let me back up, though. When you talk about full-time market analyst, you're talking about real-time, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. your traders are online, the analyst himself. And as soon as the analyst is pulling the trigger, making this decision, your group and all of the people that subscribe to your data are instantly getting that data. So they're knowing when to get in and when to get out. They're not waiting an hour. They're not losing money. I mean, they're doing it at the exact same time that your analyst is making the decisions. That way it's real time, right?
It's better than that. You know, George, one of the things that makes MTI so unique is that they work on that principle of not only giving you a fish, but also teaching you to fish. Now, one of the things that oftentimes gets forgotten in that parable is you got to remember, while you're learning to fish, you have to eat. And what Market Traders Institute does, and they do it for 5 days a week because the market is basically primarily traded 5 days a week, 19 hours each of those days. They employ an entire team of full-time market analysts. So what these individuals do is they read the news, they keep up on the technicals, and each and every time they get themselves involved in the market, an alert goes out to all of Market Traders Institute clients, and it literally tells them not only where they're getting in, where they're getting out, where they're taking their profit, but for 19 hours a day as a client, you now have a forum that you can now go to, and you can communicate with the trader that took the trade and ask them specifically, why are we getting in here? Why are you getting out there? You know, what's the reasoning behind the trade? So it's giving a fish and teaching to fish at the same time.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, Shawn, thank you so much for being on the show today, and thank you for your insights. And we're going to look forward next week on the Currency Matters segment of the show to hearing what happened at the IMF this Friday.
Thank you, George. It should be fun.
All right, that's Shawn Beecher, Market Traders Institute. That's markettraders.com. You can contact him at 800-866-743.